Hi, my name is Kristen Pietro, and I'm an occupational therapy doctorate student at Pacific University. Thank you for being here today at my capstone presentation. First and foremost, I would like to thank Jenny Dulick for being an incredible site mentor and faculty advisor. Thank you for your trust in me, Jenny, and your dedication to this project. Before we dive in, I'd like to define sexuality for those of you who may not be familiar or who would benefit from a refresher. Sexuality is a comprehensive term encompassing various interconnected concepts such as gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, flirting, relationship building, intimacy, eroticism, reproduction, gender roles, the list goes on. It can be examined from a physiological, psychological, cognitive, and psychosocial perspective. Furthermore, sexuality is deeply influenced by environmental, political, cultural, and historical contexts. Occupational therapy practitioners can recognize the convergence of these factors and their impact on a client's occupations, performance patterns and skills, and client factors. So, in summary, sexuality extends far beyond physical intimacy, and OT training enables them to comprehend these multifaceted factors supporting clients in achieving health and wellness. Additionally, I would like to mention that you can access all of the citations for my poster via the QR code here. It's essentially an APA 7th edition version of my poster. For my capstone experience, Jenny Dulick, a professor here at Pacific University, and I partnered together to create an interprofessional course called Sex and Sexuality, which will be offered at Pacific University College of Health Professionals this upcoming academic year. While developing the course during my capstone experience, I immersed myself in learning how to meet the sexuality-related needs of people across the lifespan from diverse backgrounds. But for this presentation and the capstone project that I'll be talking about, I chose to focus specifically on pediatric LGBTQIA+ clients. For my capstone project, Jenny and I decided I would create a sample of the final assignment required for the elective. Essentially, I pretended to be a student in the course and completed the final assignment so that future students have a sample of what it can look like. You can access the sample assignment via the QR code here. Throughout the process of my capstone experience and project creating the assignment, I thoroughly immersed myself in research to establish the foundational assumptions underlying this presentation. The first is the importance of sexual health has already been established, as it profoundly impacts clients' mental and physical health and overall well-being. 2, sexuality is a relevant topic for pediatric clients across diverse settings. And 3, we recognize sexual health as a fundamental human right, irrespective of age, race, disability, gender, or socioeconomic status. While each of these assumptions could warrant a presentation all on their own, those lectures already exist, so today we're trying to take the next step forward. During my research, I encountered an extensive body of literature accentuating the obstacles faced by LGBT individuals. For example, they are more likely to report poor quality of care and unfair treatment by health professionals, what I'll call HPs, due to stigma, bias, and discrimination. They're more likely to report a lack of cultural competence from HPs and are more likely to have overall poor health. For example, higher rates of suicide attempts, substance use, and certain cancers. Report more chronic conditions such as chronic stress, and avoid getting care due to the biased or discriminatory healthcare encounters. In my research on pediatric sexuality, I found that young age, 0 to 18, is a significant obstacle in meeting one's sexuality-related needs in healthcare. For starters, when youth experience a negative healthcare encounter, they are less likely to attend follow-up care, which can have negative implications for their health and well-being. Second, the literature shows that discussions concerning sexuality between youth and health professionals are infrequent and brief. HPs don't feel prepared to address sexuality with youth and feel they require more support to do so, such as training or educational opportunities. Despite this, youth consider HPs to be credible sources of sexual health information and are often willing to discuss sexuality with HPs. When these two identities intersect, being LGBT and being a young person, these barriers converge and create a complicated network of obstacles for clients to navigate, otherwise known as systems of oppression. Other identities, such as being a racial minority in the US, can further this oppression. So, what can OTs do about this? Well, the literature pointed to education, hence our making the course. The objective of making the sample assignment for the capstone project was to integrate the knowledge I gained from the capstone experience and project to demonstrate effective strategies for OTs to address the unique sexuality-related needs of pediatric LGBT clients. We also did this because the sample assignment would be useful to students taking the sex and sexuality course we had created. So for the duration of the presentation, I will first guide you through my process of creating the sample assignment, and then I will emphasize the key clinical strategies I learned along the way that you can view at the center of the poster. When determining what the elective's final assignment would be, I utilized adult learning theory, particularly the 4 principles of andragogy, to ensure the assignment was evidence-based. For example, the assignment was designed with flexibility, enabling learners to have control over their learning experiences and select formats that match their skills and profession. The format allows them to integrate their life experiences and professional knowledge to ensure real-world application. For the sample assignment, I chose to create a comic strip. The comic strip walks you through an OT treatment session based on a case study I created for the course. When creating the comic, I heavily relied on the model for understanding the occupational nature of sexuality and intimacy, which grounded me in occupation, similar to the way theories do, and helped me systematically assess various person, performance, occupation, and context factors influencing the case study participant's sexuality. Although only a few factors were addressed in the sample assignment, using the model helped me select which components were most relevant to the assignment and should be included in the comic. Throughout the assignment development, I reviewed the Occupational Therapy Code of Ethics to make sure what I was creating met OT standards of practice. You can find the specific core values and standards of conduct I reflected in the assignment in the references document via the QR code at the bottom of the poster. While creating the sample assignment comic, I used the instructional design model illustrated here, known as ADDIE, which stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation. During the analysis phase, 3 SWOT analyses were conducted. 1 for clients with sexuality-related needs, 1 for Pacific University College of Health Professionals, or CHP, and the 3rd for CHP students. The analysis demonstrated a need for a CHP sexuality course. During the design phase of ADDIE, I shadowed and conducted several interviews with health professionals who frequently address sexuality in practice and held an in-depth interview with an individual who has similar lived experience to the client in the sample assignment. The implementation phase of ADDIE involved sharing a rough draft of the sample assignment comic with survey participants for quality improvement purposes only and was not an IRB-approved research study. The survey participants included Pacific University OT and physical therapy professors and students, as well as individuals with similar lived experience to that of the client in the comic. The survey results indicated that we were successful in meeting the objectives that we set out for, which included making a sample that met the assignment's grading criteria and learning objectives, and one that would be helpful to students. A personal objective of mine was that the sample be reflective of best practices when working with LGBT clients, and 100% of participants confirmed that I met this objective. The comments in the survey allowed me to identify areas of improvement, which I then integrated into the sample assignment. During my capstone experience and project, I discovered valuable clinical strategies from literature proposed by HPs and pediatric clients. While this list is not comprehensive, these strategies are derived from recurring themes in the literature, feedback from pediatric clients themselves, and recommendations from HPs who have dedicated their careers to this topic. So the internal strategies refer to the introspective work that OT practitioners can undertake to enhance their ability to address the sexuality-related needs of LGBT pediatric clients. The external strategies encompass actionable steps, behavioral adjustments, environmental adaptations, and systemic approaches that practitioners can implement to create a supportive and inclusive environment. Let's start with internal strategies. In the literature, pediatric clients reported observing HPs lacking the appropriate language to discuss non-heteronormative sexuality-related topics, and showing unfamiliarity with LGBT lived experiences. It is not the responsibility of clients to educate HPs. To deliver more inclusive, safe, and effective care, OTs can take the initiative to educate themselves on common LGBT and sexuality terms and actively expose themselves to diverse lived experiences. Another theme I observed in the literature is that HPs often let their biases influence how they approach sexuality-related care. These biases may manifest as prejudice against LGBT people or discomfort in discussing sexuality with pediatric clients due to religious or cultural values and beliefs. Education and critical self-reflection are effective strategies to overcome harmful or inaccurate beliefs and are necessary for OTs to fulfill their ethical duty of providing comprehensive, quality care to all clients free from prejudice or discrimination. OTs can start this work by educating themselves on pediatric sexual development, such as learning the typical ages when children begin exploring different parts of their sexuality, so they can provide relevant, age-appropriate care. A misconception that I encountered was that HPs feel that by initiating discussions about sexuality, they're encouraging sexual behavior or promoting gender exploration. But in truth, it does not promote new behaviors, but rather provides guidance to improve clients' well-being and safety in activities they are already engaged in or considering. Now, let's take a look at some of the external strategies. In the literature, a common barrier reported by both LGBT and non-LGBT youth was confidentiality. Many clients expressed hesitation or reluctance to discuss sexuality with their HPs due to concerns about their parents discovering their sexual orientation or sexual activity status, especially when their parents were present during consultations. As a result, some youth resorted to lying about their sexuality, creating a significant barrier to getting their needs met. To address this issue, OTs can create clear and explicit confidentiality agreements with clients and offer privacy from parents when appropriate to provide a safe and private space for pediatric clients to ask questions, voice concerns, or explore their feelings with a qualified professional. Although not on the list, this also includes referring clients to the appropriate HP when their needs surpass OT's scope of practice. Another barrier I found in the literature was that HPs avoid discussions about sexuality with clients due to fear of reprimands from their supervisors and confusion around roles and responsibilities. To lessen this barrier, OTs can advocate for an explicit workplace sexuality policy. This can include HP's role in discussing sexuality, specifying allowed interventions, and outlining any additional protocols needed. Lastly, modeling consistent consent with pediatric clients, whether discussing sexuality or not, is crucial. It helps pediatric clients develop healthy boundaries for their bodies and shows them how to seek consent when interacting with others. Teaching youth about consent serves as a valuable tool for sexual assault prevention and lays the foundation for youth to develop healthy relationships in the future. So I didn't get to all of the strategies on the list, but please use this QR code if you would like to read an elaborated version of this list or revisit it in the future. And if you haven't already, feel free to scan this other QR code for the comic I made if you're interested. If you'd like to learn more about how you can integrate sexuality into your OT practice regardless of your setting, I highly recommend the book Sexuality and Intimacy, an Occupational Therapy Approach by Catherine Ellis and Joseph Christian Unko, which you can also find in my references list in the first QR code. Thank you so much for attending my presentation.